Well done. You found the best revenge article around. The main character is very clever, and they have some great ways of making fun of horrible people. This article was read in one go, without stopping. The main article will be published straight away. My father kept his child a secret for 8 years, but my mother eventually found out. My mother promised to end the relationship, even if that meant leaving the house. This time, I stopped her, because I was born again. My father is very sick and has only a short time left to live. As long as we can survive until he dies, everything in his name will belong to my mother and me. Lily, if your parents get a divorce, would you like to stay with your mom? When my mother asked me this question again, I didn't hesitate. I told her, Mom, let's not get a divorce. My mother's eyes went red. You know what? The child your father has with his other woman is only half a year younger than you. How can Mom possibly swallow this breath? When you get divorced, you don't think about it much. You just follow your mom, right? You're all your mom has left. No. She asked why. Because I was born again. In my last life, my parents divorced, and to try and get me to stay with her, my mom chose to leave with nothing. The property and business that my parents had created from scratch was taken over by that mother and son. Just 2 months after their divorce, the father died from an advanced stomach cancer. The only reason he let his mother know about the couple was because he was going to die soon and he wanted to make things easier for his illegitimate son, but he couldn't let his mother take half of the family money. He was determined to take my family away from their home, and my mother had to give up everything they had fought for together for many years. One minute he had just received a divorce license, and the next minute he registered his marriage with that woman. After he died, that woman and her son naturally inherited everything he had. My mother and I, on the other hand, suffered terrible revenge. Whether my mother was starting a business or looking for a job, they repeatedly spoiled it, and even when she set up a stall, she was harassed by the thugs they hired. To support me, my mother had to go to the bar to buy alcohol, and she eventually fell into a life of poverty. That woman tortured my mother for 10 years. Finally, on my 18th birthday, she jumped from the 21st floor. Even after she died, that woman still wouldn't let me go. She paid people at school to bully me, turning black and white upside down. She slandered me as an illegitimate daughter and said that my mother was the third person who ruined her relationship. I was alone and without a father when I was hit by a speeding truck one night while I was in a trance. The money that made my mother and me very angry came from the property that the woman inherited from my father. In this life, I must protect my mother and stop that man's evil plan. Mom, do you believe in dreams? I told my mother everything that had happened to me in my previous life, in great detail. My mother said quietly, Mom would never do something so lowly, and she'd never leave you and just walk away. I know, but when you're in a desperate situation, you might grab the only chance to save your life. Even if that straw is stained with poison, it will be held tightly with eyes closed. Mother was upset by her father's cheating and lying, and didn't want to run the company. Father uses this time to make the mother think he still loves her, even though he doesn't. At the same time, the mother quickly takes control of the company and becomes the boss. My mother wasn't sure what to believe, but her love for me was very strong. Even though what I said was just a dream, she decided to check it. Mother went back to work. In the evening, she came back with my father, whose face was blue and very ugly. I went up to him. Dad, are you the kind of person who cheats on his wife? My father was so angry that he was struggling to breathe and couldn't speak for almost a day. The internet says that if a man is unfaithful, it's like touching a dirty cucumber. You can't do it, even if you want to. Mother covered my mouth and said, don't read those websites. They're too messy, and don't learn those rude words. I nodded my head quickly to show that I understood. My mother let go of my hand, and I asked, Mom, will you still get divorced? Mother smiled and said, of course not. Mom has already forgiven Dad. In the future, we will have to live a good life as a family of 3. My father's face was green and white for a while. He told me off for a few minutes, and then went back to his room without eating dinner. Mother's mobile phone rang while she was having a shower. I carefully scratched the screen. It was a rude message from that woman, Evelyn. She had sent my mother personal photos of herself and my father, and her words were very annoying, telling my mother to end her marriage to my father. She called her mother a hen that can't lay eggs, and sarcastically said that she was too conservative to hold on to her father's heart. She also said that she and her father were true lovers, and that if my grandfather hadn't forced my father to marry my mother, They would have been a proper family. I replied for my mother. I don't believe it. Your photo is not P, is it? I remember my father had a big mole on his left hip, but it's not in the photo you sent. Evelyn actually sent a sexy video straight to my phone, to annoy her mother. The video was filmed in 360-degree HD so you can see all around it, and you can clearly see the mole on her father's left buttock. It was truly awful. I made myself feel sick, downloaded the original picture and video, and then sent them to my own account using my mother's account. After dinner, I opened my computer, put the video and photos together, added the key parts of my father and Evelyn, and put it on my Facebook page. The caption says, "Auntie says she's very skilled, Mom isn't as loose as she is, and now Dad dislikes Mom and wants to divorce her. What should I do? Lily doesn't want to become a child without a father." Bawling. JPG, I'm less than 9 years old. I shouldn't have to go to jail for posting this kind of stuff, right? Dad is trying to get Mom to feel sorry for him. Evelyn is annoying her mom and trying to get her to get a divorce as soon as possible. That's a pretty good plan. I knew my dad would be angry, but I didn't expect him to be this furious. He slapped me so hard that 2 of my teeth broke. Oh my goodness, it really hurt a lot. But compared to the terrible pain of being run over by a truck in my previous life, the slap was nothing. My mother attacked him with such force that her nails dug deep into his face, leaving bloody scratches. He told me to delete the dynamic. I deleted it, but it didn't help that I deleted it. And after the night, who knows how many people had already saved their videos. I have several aunts on my friends list who love to surf the waves, and I'm sure they would never let my father down in a fight. My father angrily told my mother, "Look at the good daughter you've taught." He slammed the door. My mouth was covered in blood and my mother wanted to take me to the hospital while crying. I said, "No, Mum, if you are in trouble, go to the police, uncle." My mother felt sorry for me and wanted to take me to the hospital first, but I was taken to the police station by force. I was bleeding heavily as I made my way to the police station. With my mouth full of blood, I shakily reached out to a pretty police officer. I held the 2 teeth I had been holding tightly in my hand all this time. "Auntie, Lily wants to call the police." My father was used to things going well for a long time, and this was probably the first time he'd ever been in a police station, or for attacking his own daughter. He had been doing really well in his job for a while, so he was feeling happy, but how had he ever lost this kind of face? His face was green and purple and you couldn't predict it. I lost 2 teeth and my face was swollen. The police officer said that my injuries were serious enough to be punished by the state, and that if my mother and I insisted, my father could be held for 5 days or fined. I begged to be able to put my father in jail, just in time to buy my mother another 5 days. My dad was angry with me for sending him a private video. I quickly switched on my child's mobile phone and played the video of Evelyn and father for the aunts and uncles in the room. The video Daddy is talking about is this one. Auntie says Daddy likes that she's technically good and that she gave him a son and told Mummy to divorce him sooner rather than later. Lily doesn't want her parents to get a divorce. She doesn't want to be without her dad. She just wants her aunts and uncles on Facebook to give her some ideas. Speaking of sadness, I cried a lot. If there was a crack in the ground, I'm sure my father would have gone straight to it. After a moment of embarrassment, my uncles and aunts kindly explained to me that posting such content on social media is against the law. However, since I was too young to know better and had deleted it in time, I just got a talking to. Now everyone knew about my father's betrayal of the marriage, and people felt even more contempt for him. Because my mother and I insisted, the facts are all there. My father could only go in for 5 days of iron window tears. I think it is very cost-effective to rely on 2 teeth for 5 days of valuable time in exchange for mother. Now is not the time to feel sorry for me. After the doctor's visit, I convinced my mother to go back to the company and told her that several important jobs there were held by Evelyn's relatives. Mother didn't hesitate. After asking a friend to help find 2 strong female bodyguards to take care of me, she hurried to the company to take care of business. My father probably came from a poor background and relied on his in-laws to get to the top, as they say on the internet. His family is very poor and only his widowed mother can pay for him to study. My mom's family isn't rich, but luckily her grandfather's army unit gave her a house in a pretty good spot in the city. After my parents finished university and got married, my grandfather sold the house to help them get started. With this money, they turned a small workshop for husband and wife into a factory with a market value of nearly $1 billion. Although mother was smart and did a great job running the company, she was also very sentimental. In my last life, my father took advantage of this and played the emotional card with me to trick her into leaving her home. My mother thought she could make a comeback, but the world is unpredictable. With me as a drag and Evelyn behind her, even feeding us has become a problem. It has also made it difficult for her to start a business. Mothers always seem to be the weakest when it comes to their children. If it wasn't for me, how could my mother willingly give up everything she had worked so hard for? I don't want to make the same mistake. In this life, it's my turn to protect my mother. After being locked up for 5 days, I'm sure my father already hated us, my mother and me. After he came out, he didn't even return home. Instead, he openly lived in the love nest he built for Evelyn's mother and son. Because of what happened in the video, the father became the joke of the company. Mother said that on the first day he went back to work at the company after he quit, he looked like a chimpanzee stepping into a crowd, with everyone whispering and staring at him. Some of his aunts were even a bit annoyed with him and secretly told him off. He had just left and been subjected to this kind of anger, and he was furious at the company and almost fired those people, but his mother stopped him. His father found out that his mother had kicked all of Evelyn's relatives out of the company. This made his father so angry that he had a big argument with his mother. They were so upset that they couldn't stand to be in the same room together. The father knew that he could no longer make his mother happy by being emotional. So, he offered to share half of his money and to divorce her peacefully. Mother found out about his illness from his father's doctor. She knew that even if the operation was successful, he wouldn't live much longer. This made it even less likely that she would agree to the operation. This made my mother realize that she would never trust her father again. Dad knew he didn't have much time and couldn't afford to waste it. But his mother wouldn't agree to a peaceful breakup, so he took her to court and filed for a divorce. My mother was holding my hand and told the staff, even though he was at fault, my daughter and I are willing to forgive him. We have such a good relationship that we can't give up on our marriage just because he left it once. People often say that it is better to destroy 10 temples than to ruin a marriage. I want his divorce petition to be rejected. I shouted back, Dad, Lily can't let you go. Dad looked a bit strange. He couldn't prove that his relationship with his mother had broken down. The things he did with Evelyn only proved that he couldn't control himself. But Mother and I were willing to forgive him. Mother put up with his nonsense and only wanted him to go back to his family. After waiting a long time, his first divorce case was unsuccessful. The father wanted another divorce, but as long as the mother didn't agree, he had to wait 6 months before he could file again. Unfortunately, he couldn't wait that long. The mother said that the father had taken a lot of money from the company without telling her, and that he was making plans for both mother and son Evelyn. He was worried that if he died, Evelyn and her son would not get any money. He even made a private will to leave all his portion of the property to his illegitimate son. I was worried and asked my mother, why didn't you stop Dad? My mother told me not to worry too much about it. She said she would take care of things from the outside, and that she would never let someone who wasn't involved in the matter take advantage of us for anything. I told my mother everything I knew, and my father couldn't fool her anymore. I thought that because of my mom's talent, she would never be in pain. In my last life, my mother and I were so unhappy that I didn't want to share any money with her. What my father did really shocked me. He never came home, so I had to look for him at the place where he and Evelyn lived. I knew where they lived, because he had put the mother and child in one of the best parts of the city. I had been here before, but then I came to ask Evelyn for help. I prayed at their gate that she would be kind and let my mother and I stay, but she kicked me to the ground, stomping on half of my face with her pretty heels and smiling. She said, "This is retribution. Who made your mother shameless and interfered in our love?" Her pointed heels hurt me. Some of the people watching spat at me and called me shameless when they heard her say that. She told me to let us go by kneeling and kowtowing to her, and I did. She laughed even more, holding up her son and looking at me like she wanted to throw up. Now it was my turn to collect some interest. I brought the female bodyguard that my mother had given me, took her and my father's pictures, and asked all the way from the entrance of the neighborhood to the front of the villa where they lived. Their courtyard gate was wide open, and the woman who had flashed her breasts in front of my mother and me in my last life was watering the flowers in the courtyard with her and my father's son, Leo, who was very young. Aunt Evelyn. Evelyn was shocked when she saw me. I could see that several aunts and grandmothers had come to see the fun with their children. They had the children in their arms. This made my friend's cheeks even more bright and red. I told you why her husband is always away from home. She even licked her face and told me that he is a company boss, busy with business, flying all over the world every day. It turns out to be a mistress who is not at all modest. Ah, she is really shameless. Look at her. She's usually quiet, but I didn't think that she would behave like that in private. It's really eye-opening. You can't judge a person by their appearance, and you can't measure the sea water. Some people look even better. Who knows if they are human or ghosts behind the scenes? This kind of person with a bad character was not known before. In the future, everyone can stop associating with her, in case she causes problems for our children. Their quiet voices made Evelyn come back to herself. She acted like she didn't know me and kept saying I was the wrong person. You have to see if people believe you when you open your eyes. Obviously they don't believe her, because I've shown everyone my picture. The aunt's and grandmother's words became more and more unpleasant, and she became so angry that she shouted at us and told me to go away. I wiped my tears and asked her, "Aunt Evelyn, please don't let Dad and my mom get a divorce, okay? As long as you're willing to leave Dad, I'll give you as much money as you want. Don't you like the money your dad gives you? I have a lot of money at the end of the year, too." I broke the piggy bank in my hand with a pop, and the $1.50 coins fell out. I picked them up one by one and gave her a handful. The people around us were getting angrier. Her son Leo tried to hit me, so I grabbed his ear and pulled. He let out a shout of pain. Evelyn tried to help, but two of my bodyguards stopped her. I cried, swore, kicked and scratched. Like an angry animal, I went crazy and grabbed Leo tightly, punching him hard. "Dad abandoned me because of you. You stole my dad. It's all your fault. It's all your fault." Girls grow quickly when they are young, and because he was half a head taller than Leo, he was no match for me. He was so badly beaten by me that he was screaming. He wasn't my brother, he was the devil. He was born with original sin. He and that shameless mum, who took everything from me and my mother, were heartless enough to get back at us, to ruin my mother's reputation. He paid people to spread rumors in my school that she had an affair and caused his father's death. He even encouraged the little sister to lock me in the toilet, tore up my textbooks and homework, falsely accused me of cheating on the test, and found someone to throw dirty water on me on my way home. He's a bad person. I won't let him off the hook just because he's still a kid. When Leo's father arrived, he was bruised, swollen and disheveled. Evelyn gave her son a big hug and cried a lot. My dad tried to hit me again. My bodyguards protected me from him, watching him closely, hands ready to stop him if he tried to attack. I pushed my head through the space between the two bodyguards and shouted to my father, "If you want to go back in there for a few more days, go ahead and fight. You can beat me to death. You knocked out two of my teeth last time, and now you want to hit me again, right? I just want to protect our home. What did I do wrong? You're shamelessly hooking up with other people. I'm really unlucky to have a father like you." There were a lot of people watching, and they were all around us. They were talking about how Evelyn and her father were shameless. Now, they are pointing the finger at father and Evelyn. My words made him so angry that he covered his chest and shook. At last, he was so angry that he fell down on the ground in the garden. I didn't realize that my father was so unhelpful that he fainted at this. I shouted straight away and called the emergency services. The ambulance came and Evelyn tried to take her rude son to the hospital with us, but I stopped them. The father's worry led to a number of bad reactions and he had to go to hospital. His cancer had spread even more. The doctor said that if he didn't have an operation straight away, he probably wouldn't survive. If the surgery is done straight away, there's a 30% chance it will work. If the operation was successful, he would only get a year and a half more. When my father woke up and saw me for the first time, he still wanted to tell me off, and was immediately slapped hard by my mother. "You're all lying in bed. Let me be alone." My father was really angry, but he was so weak that he couldn't even walk without breathing heavily. He was no match for my mother. I made him get back into bed and told him what the doctor had said, and asked what he thought. I don't know if he had surgery before, but he died really quickly. My father's face was gray and I could tell he was upset. But what does that have to do with me and my mother? Anyway, no matter what he chose, he would have to face the word death at some point. In the end, he decided to have the surgery. I'm not surprised, because someone like him, who is afraid of death, will do whatever it takes to hold on to life. Grandma died early, and now he only has two immediate family members, my mother and me. My mother signed the form to say it was okay for him to have the operation. He offered to see Evelyn and Leo before the surgery, but his mother said no. He tried to contact each other by phone, but his mobile phone was also taken by his mother. He swore and smashed everything in the hospital room. I took my mom's hand and said, "Dad really wants to see them, so let them come over." My mother wasn't sure, but she thought the mother and son were horrible. However, when I insisted, she agreed. Evelyn took Leo to the hospital and shouted at her father. It was just as the doctor and his team came by to check on Evelyn, and I introduced them to her mother and son. Evelyn felt embarrassed when she met the crowd's strange gazes, especially since the son she had with her father didn't look much younger than me. Dad's face was also ugly. All the respect he had built up over the years had pretty much disappeared by then. With tears in my eyes, I told the doctor, although what Dad did wasn't personal, Lily doesn't want Dad to die. Uncle and Auntie, you must save Dad. Dad's face went green. How bad is it? Mother spoke to some of the company's middle and upper management again and came over to visit father. The doctor had just left, and they came back. Evelyn tried to get away with Leo, but the female bodyguards my mother had arranged for me stopped her. Your dad wants you to come and see him, so let's go and see what he's up to. The company people left, along with my father's classmates, elementary school classmates, middle school classmates, high school classmates, and college classmates. Mothers all over the place got in touch, those she knew and those she didn't. Wave after wave came, and with each wave, mother thoughtfully introduced them. The father was completely naked and had no social skills. I guess you could say that he was a very unpleasant person. Evelyn wasn't much better. Her son Leo was even more upset, hiding in the corner and not saying a word. Mother had a thermos flask and was drinking some water. She said that they still had a few distant relatives living in their old home. She also said that if he liked, he could ask Evelyn to bring her child over the next day to meet them. Dad had the energy to drive Evelyn's mom and son away. At last, the father was peaceful. The wait for the operation was long and difficult. Maybe he was bored, or maybe he was just being silly. He took my hand and said in a sad voice, "Lily, Leo is your brother. Dad has only one son. He is the foundation of our family. Surely you can treat him well." I looked down. I was surprised to find out that his traditional ideas about men were so serious. I took out the 2 teeth he had knocked out earlier and put them in front of him, waving them around. "Do you think it's possible?" I asked. My father became annoyed and said, "Who parents don't beat their children? Dad is already good enough for you. Look at our hometown. Is there a girl's life there that's as good as yours? You shouldn't be so lucky that you don't know what's good for you." His words really made me feel sick. "Dad, you're so shameless. You got money from your grandpa to start your own business, and you went out to find women while your mom was pregnant. Your children, who weren't born legally, are all only half a year younger than me. Now that you're dying, you're trying to trick your mom into getting a woman to make room for your child. You say you are good enough for me, but I don't feel that way at all. You brag about your high status and upper-class background, but you're actually full of old-fashioned ideas. You want to take all the good and nice things from my mom to give to your son outside. I've never seen a more horrible older man than you. When you die, old things like you will probably have to go to the 18 layers of hell." My father was scared and pointed at me, and I slapped his hand down. "What did you teach me before?" Pointing the finger at others. "No quality at all. You, he said, struggling to understand why. I think he was nervous and said the wrong thing. He then put a piece of unpeeled apple in his mouth. "Be quiet, woman, and try to make me think you're right about his son. He thinks he is better than everyone else." If I didn't have memories of my past life, I would have believed him. The day of the surgery finally arrived. He was taken into the operating room while my mother and I waited outside. Maybe it was because I knew how he would turn up in my past life, but I wasn't nervous at all. In fact, I felt a kind of excitement. Evelyn actually brought Leo with her. I stood up and Leo brushed Evelyn's hair back. I snorted, feeling like a coward. My mother looked at Evelyn and didn't say anything. Evelyn smiled in a mocking way and said, "Sister Chiefin, I came to see Mr. Williams." The mother just ignored her. The lights in the operating room finally changed from morning to afternoon. A short while later, the doctors came out of the operating room. The head doctor looked very serious and a bit sorry for my mother and me. "If you have anything to say, tell him earlier." I heard a scream from behind me and looked back. I saw Evelyn on the floor, crying. The father's operation had failed. He was taken back into the hospital room, and the doctor said he didn't have long to live. He told us to go back and prepare for the aftermath. The father looked pale and as if he were going to die. When he saw Evelyn and Leo, he was very shocked. Leo, I closed the door quickly. And Leo, go back to your death. After that, my mother started to plan for my father's funeral. She even ordered wreaths and talked about how many urns would be needed and what style they should be. As long as I think of the sadness my mother and I felt in my previous life, and then see my father's miserable state now that he is worse than dead, my heart is unbelievably happy. Now that it was summer vacation, I had a lot of time to spend with my father. I stayed at his bedside in hospital and told him what was going on at home. Evelyn's mother and son are here again, because her mom has kicked them out. Do you know what her life is like now? She's become a regular on the streets in the neighborhood you put her in. She still wants to move out, but unfortunately her mom froze all the property in your name, so she can't use her sub card. When your funeral is over, your mother will take legal action to get back all the money you spent on her. As much as she spent out, mom will make her pay back. My father looked at me and said, Leo, in a rough voice, it's almost dead, and all he's thinking about is the child that was born outside of marriage. I couldn't help but laugh and say, do you think that everything will be fine if you make a will? It's not clear whether your will be legally valid. They say that children born outside of marriage have the right to inherit, and this is true, but how can you prove that Leo is your real child? You think you can relax because you've done a paternity test on the quiet? Mom spoke to a lawyer. They said that appraisal report you have is no good. Your mother has arranged a funeral service for you, without mom's and my permission. Evelyn had no chance of getting a court order for a paternity test for Leo. Leo and Evelyn can't spend any of our money. The father's whole body shook and trembled for a long time before slowly stopping. His eyes showed hate, and if eyes could kill, I would have died 1,000 times from looking into them. What did we do wrong? We just don't want others to take what belongs to us. If my father had been a bit more compassionate and didn't rely on my mother so much, we wouldn't have had such a difficult time in my previous life. He is the one who made us end up in that situation. I looked into his eyes and said, just wait and see. In the middle of the night that day, my father went. His last days were difficult. I suppose if I hadn't been angry with him, he might have lived a day or two longer. I admit, I just did it on purpose. I just didn't want him to go easily. Why should he get away with all the things he did to hurt me and my mother? I didn't want him to have it his way. I wanted him to think about Evelyn and her son until he died, but there was nothing he could do. His mother organized his funeral. When she got back from the crematorium, she met Evelyn's mother and son, who came to her door. Evelyn and her son were devastated when they found out that their father had died. I don't know how much of their feelings were real, but without their dad to support them, they should be more or less sincere. The mother didn't stop them. They took part in the whole funeral process for their father. After the funeral of my father, the question of who will inherit his money will be discussed. Evelyn said that Leo was his father's biological son, and he wanted to inherit the part of the property that belonged to his father. Unfortunately, he couldn't produce any evidence, and my mother and I simply denied it. My father has turned into ashes, but can he still come out of the urn to do a paternity test with Leo? She won't get the inheritance and will have to pay back the money that was already spent on them. The mother calmly gave the court the evidence she had collected earlier. The money the father spent on them came from the joint property he and the mother had, and Evelyn had to give it all back. First, the villa was registered in Evelyn's name. Then, there were the large transfers, the gold and silver jewelry and luxury items her father had bought for her. Evelyn can't just say voluntary gift and deny it when there is so much evidence. Evelyn was so confused that someone helped her, and she actually brought a family mediation program to my mother and me. She told the camera in a very emotional way that her mother was desperate, that she had killed her father and her son after he died, and that she was trying to use the public to put pressure on my mother and me to give in. She was so naive, thinking that everyone with a similar outlook to her would sympathize with her. It's the first time I've seen someone who is so willing to show the worst of themselves to the public. Who doesn't know how to gain sympathy? What's more, my mother and I are the victims. My mother stopped the mediator and said, Lily is only half a year older than that child. They've been there for so long. I didn't even let go of things in the company when I was in labor. When I was just starting out, there were so many things to do: finance, purchasing, customer service, vehicle dispatching. I did not do all of them. On the first day of the month, I rode a small donkey to collect the tax. I did this in the rain to save money on a taxi. I held the child under the bridge until it was dark and the rain stopped. Mothers know how hard it is to start a business. The mother also had red eyes when she spoke later. Evelyn could only see her mother's beauty in front of her, but she couldn't see how much she had paid without her knowing. While her mother was busy at the factory, her father had time to go outside and mess around. How can you not be angry? There is nothing wrong with the mother just keeping her legal property. Evelyn changed her story and said she was also deceived by her father and had no idea he was married before that. Because of the business he was running, my father was in his 30s when I was born. What made her think he was single? A man with an average career, who wasn't bad looking, and who said he couldn't be there for her sometimes? Everyone knew that this kind of talk was more than enough to fool a child. Her denial seemed silly in front of the camera. She begged her mother not to be so desperate with them as a mother and son for her father's sake. You're already so rich, she says. I'm not asking Leo to inherit his share of dad's money. I just want you to give us a little bit, and it won't affect you at all. She was very embarrassed and felt awful. Unfortunately, it was the mother who made the decision, not the mediators and photographers. After the mother finished her angry speech, she showed the camera the evidence that her father had spent money on Evelyn during her lifetime. She is said to have given away millions of dollars of villas and tens of millions of dollars worth of luxury cars, one after another. Before and after, tens of millions of dollars were spent on her. Leo went to a very expensive school. The fees were dozens of times more expensive than the elementary school I went to. Their mother and son's life is much better than mine and my mother's. A mediation program was shown on TV, but it didn't have a good effect on Evelyn. In fact, it made her very unpopular. Some good people even followed the internet thread and got Evelyn's social media accounts. Almost every dynamic can feel her extravagant style. She loves expensive gifts, like mansions, luxury cars and jewelry. She goes shopping when she's feeling sad and travels whenever she wants. Today, I'm flying to Tokyo to eat sushi, and tomorrow, I'm off to London to feed the pigeons. The way she presents herself on the platform is similar to that of a rich celebrity who loves to show off. She has amassed a following of over 100,000 on the platform, and many people have also left messages underneath expressing their envy of her. The big difference between her before and after persona has led to her being scolded many times. Lots of people online went to her platform account to tell her off. Evelyn quickly deleted all the posts on her account after feeling unable to deal with the online criticism. I only follow them every now and then, and it makes me feel good to know that they are not doing well. After a legal battle that lasted more than 6 months, her villa and all the luxury cars, jewelry and other luxury goods that were registered in her name were ordered to be returned. The money that had already been spent also had to be given back within a limited time. The house was sold quickly, and the new owner made mother and son leave. Leo couldn't afford his expensive school, so he dropped out and went to a much cheaper private elementary school. Evelyn had been relying on her father to support her. She didn't have a job or money. She was used to spending a lot of money, and the little money she had wasn't enough. In this life, the homeless people became a mother and son. Because she had to give back the money from the court order, Evelyn didn't pay back the money she owed. She had been taken care of for so many years, and without a skill to fall back on, it was impossible for her to support herself. One cold winter's day, Evelyn, wearing thin clothes, brought Leo to the house. With a snotty nose and tears in her eyes, she cried and begged her mother to forgive her. I went over to the mother and went up to her and told her I could give her some money if she knelt down to her mother. After a short pause, Evelyn pulled Leo to her knees in front of her mother. The mother, not expecting her to actually kneel, quickly avoided it. That's what makes us different, right? The mother would never insult a woman without first thinking about how she might react. I took a card out of my pocket and gave it to Evelyn. There's $50,000 here. Go and change Leo's last name. If it were the old days, $50,000 would have been nothing to her. But nowadays, she thought the money was a lot. She changed Leo's account and took pictures and sent them to us. I took the photos to my father's grave and burned them for him. I don't know if he could see it, but if he could, he would have fainted in anger again. Before he died, he was counting on my mother and me to look after his son. But now, all it takes is $50,000 for Evelyn to change her son's last name. I asked my mother to change my last name to hers so that I could leave my father and my past life behind me. Later, My mother said she saw Evelyn at a few cocktail parties, and she still looked like the same old white girl, with a different man with her. When she got old, she set up a stall to support herself. Leo grew up as a thief and he can't change. Because of stealing a few things and taking some things out, he got into trouble when he was 18. He broke a hand and 2 eyes, and now he is completely useless. My mother and I didn't kill them, and their lives were no better than that. That's the end of the story.